Let's bring in Trump campaign senior trade and jobs advisor Curtis Ellis. Great to see you, Curtis. Thanks for being here. So, Trumka, and I understand there's a difference between the union leadership and the membership, but Trumka says that union members across the country aren't feeling the strength of the economy right now. Do you believe him?
No, not really. You look at the numbers here. Blue-collar wages are increasing faster than managerial wages. Record low unemployment. We've got historic low unemployment. More Americans are working than ever. Through the deregulation and the tax cuts and the trade reform, we're seeing more jobs coming back to America, and particularly those jobs in the construction trades, the building trades, they're not being, they were never served under Mr. Obama. They're being served under President Trump. And these people are feeling it. And by the way, I just want to show you, I am a union member myself.
Oh, there you go. Official.
An AFL affiliate, the Writers Guild of America. It's kind of the Cadillac of unions, but I am a union member. My father was a union member. And union people are very happy. All working people in America are very happy. Mr. Trumka's got his own agenda, though.
It's Jackie DeAngelis here. The second part of Trumka's statement said that actually President Trump's administration has done more things to hurt workers. How do you respond to that? And also, I mean, even if that is the perception out there, that is going to be a problem in 2020.
Well, it's funny that Mr. Trumka is making his comments on the heels of a story that came out in the Wall Street Journal saying the Democratic Party is making a play for the union workers to try to bring them back to vote Democrat because they all voted for President Trump the last time around. Look, the leadership of the AFL, CIO, and a lot of these unions are a wholly owned subsidiary of the Democrat National Committee. The rank-and-file union members, they know that President Trump is their president, their guy. He's fighting for them. And just look at what he's doing with China. No other president, no Democrat, no Republican, no other president ever did what President Trump is doing. And he's doing exactly what he promised he would do, stand up for the people who've gotten ripped off by China, and that's the working people. Wall Street made money investing in China. The working people of America got the shaft. Wall Street got the gold.
But unfortunately, the working people are the ones that are hurting. I think your statement over there just recently saying that everybody is benefiting is false, especially when you talk about the agricultural sector. Think of all the farmers out there. They may not be voicing their opinion because they are getting tons and tons of money in subsidies, but I think that is an overgeneralization of how the middle class is doing or faring in the United States thus far. And the tax cuts, yes, no doubt about it. We've seen an increase. However, it is still too soon to actually say whether that's going to be a sugar high or not.
Well, you look at the employment numbers. Look, record numbers of people are working. Wages are increasing. Record low unemployment. Sure, the farmers are hurting because of China's retaliation, China's actions, but the farmers understand that we need to take on China. It should have been done a long time ago, and they're willing to stick this out in order to get, in order to still be private owners of farms for their kids' and grandkids' sake. So,
yeah, well, Curtis, does it surprise you at all? You know, U.S. Steel, the stock is down by about 60% since the trade tariffs were enacted. In fact, there's been layoffs at U.S. Steel as well. Look, I'm going to ask you this specifically about the trade deficit. That was the main purpose of the trade war that President launched with all these tariffs. It has widened under President Trump. How do you respond to that? Why is that the case? And isn't that an indication that one of the main goals of the trade war just simply isn't working?
The main goal of the trade war is to get China to stop ripping us off. And
but the
look,
deficit,
China has hit us with tariffs, and they've stopped buying. China has stopped buying soybeans. They now put a tariff on American oil. So China's trying to cut its imports from America. That's affecting our trade deficit in the short term. But the point of the matter is that we can't go on letting China rip us off, steal our innovation, steal our intellectual property, dump fentanyl in our country, and treat us like the colony they want us to be.
But isn't that kind of like sour grapes for the 250 U.S. steel workers who've been laid off as a result of the trade tariffs? What does that mean? How many millions?
There's 50,000 factories have been closed, and more than 1 million people have lost their jobs because of China's predatory trade policies over the last 30 years. So now you're crying crocodile tears over 250 steel workers. I didn't hear you say a word about the millions of people who have their lives destroyed before that. So.
Well, Curtis, I don't think that's quite fair. I don't think you watched the show enough to know what Jonathan Hoenig has said, and he has stuck up for those workers. So that's not a fair statement, sir. But I do want to ask you further what Jonathan Hoenig had said about specifically the trade deficit. That was something that President Trump said he would eradicate. And understand it's some things that China is doing right now. Most economists say that's not a way to measure trade imbalance and trade relations, but it has increased. And you look at manufacturing activity, it is contracted for 2 straight quarters, which means manufacturing is in a technical recession. You look at how China has become more integrated, we have become more isolated. Why is there a disconnect, sir, between what President Trump said would happen and what is actually happening?
It's taken us 30 years to get into this mess with China. It's going to take more than 2 quarters to get out of it. It's very simple. The integrated of China, I don't see how they're more integrated. We've got supply chains moving out of China. We've got everybody moving out of China, rushing to get to the exit. And if you read the China law blog, you see why. Because it's a criminal enterprise over there. The government has stacked the deck against foreign companies, trying to boost its own national champions. And no sane businessman would want to make China their sole supplier for anything.
Curtis?
Finally, we're getting a reality check here, and people are realizing that America is a better place to do business than communist China.
Curtis, I agree with my colleagues on the trade deficit. It is widening instead of getting more narrow, as the president said it would. However, I disagree with him in terms of union members, because it is true that this president received more union support from individual union members than just any other Republican since Ronald Reagan in the early 1980s. I'm just wondering, Trumka is not a fan of Republicans at all. He's a very hard-nosed guy. He was known to push people around when he was working with the coal miners union. This is a tough hombre, as the president would say. Is the president actually trying to get his support? Because he did say that you Democrats can't take union members for granted.
Well, that's right. And he can't take, the Republicans can't take, President Trump can't take union members for granted. And it's one thing to get union members, and it's another thing to get Mr. Trumka's support. Mr. Trumka, I would be very surprised if the AFL CIO were to come out and endorse President Trump for re-election. I just don't see that happening.
But the question is not about Trumka. The question is whether President Trump is actively trying to seek his support.
President Trump is trying to seek the support of voters, and it is the union rank-and-file membership that will determine the outcome of this election. Right. And the leaders, the workers in the rank-and-file don't take their orders from Mr. Trumka. I'm saying that
I'm trying to get a little behind-the-scenes action here. There's nothing going on behind the scenes between President Trump and Trumka?
Well, you saw the tweet today. He said when they meet in the Oval Office, Richard Trumka is very friendly, very nice. Then when he comes out, he plays for the cameras, and he's the tough guy, right?
Hey, good to see you, Curtis. Thanks very much. You're a stand-up guy. Appreciate it.